I need another heavy. I've got TB and a quick draw.
I want to get fairly tight to it. Now, anybody who's going to be working range, I'm going to need you to fade right on this. And when anybody's running short, is going to stay towards the top of the caldera if we're going to come at them.
I have you in the Griff. Griffin.
Sounds good. Well, that's the thing. We got to get to brawling range, so I may be moving us right up to the hoop if we have to.
Wolverine nach Charlie 4.
It's fine, chill the f*** out, man, it's fine, it's just a 5-star.
Komm, Leute, redet miteinander.
15 seconds.
Yeah, exactly, that's fine. Guys, we're winning, guys. 3, 2, 1.
Charlie Dar, CT, yellow.
Okay, good. Get Charlie soon. Get it there.
To your left, there's there. Acceleration.
So, jetzt guys, hinter die Indie-Pocken.
Mediums be prepared to pull back E40 towards the E5 border. On my mark.
Left side, come on! Like now, I need strikes on OP barrel. Wire our strikes up.
Die Hauptgruppe rechts, Uferlinie.
They have 3 mechs sitting on the left side when you pass over.
Overheating is bad.
Both legs on the Griffin. Get the Griffin!
Sorry about that. That was such a
That's right. I'm gonna spawn Lance, you guys in Charlie, Lance, you guys in Bravo. That's B2C1.
This third drop is 2 lights, 2 mediums, 2 heavies, 2 assaults.
Jetzt in die Breite, zieht euch in die Breite.
Lights, watch our backs. We're gonna about base and take up position in Bravo 6.
Ja, kurz Aufschaltung, Delta 4, 3 Stück, 2 Mediums einleiten, wie ich es richtig gesehen habe.
Make a firing line.
C4 Tactical Hill, boys.
Fox.
Laufen unter ECM, hab 2 durchlaufen, 10 Bravo 4.
And get ready to hit people coming from our right.
Charlie on the left, Charlie, Hellbringer on the left.
Okay, let's group up towards the left. We're gonna press through Bravo 3 to Bravo 4. I think they're kind of spread out. Check yourselves, make sure you've got, UAV cool shot. Here they come, they're pushing hard, guys.
Decro. Tez on.
Go.
Oh, got a contact here, Bravo 3.
Nice, Marshall. I'm on Delta Griffin.
We'll get cross it then, get in their face. They got a highlighter, they just push up on Theta. We need help on Theta. Up on Theta. Yep, that's the noise. Go. Let's finish this. Full pressure, guys. Full pressure. They're down low. They're down low in Charlie 3. Get the f***ing arm, Jackson.
Jackson, cool shot.
Go. I got him.
Go, P3, go.
Echo, go.
Get over on your medium, guys. Get Echo Stormcrow.
God, I suck as a pilot, but thank I packed my skill.
I'm sorry that you died, sweet girls, but we will send a reasonably nice letter to your family.
Greetings, Mech Warriors, and welcome to the MRBC North American Season 7, Week 5, Division C Championship between ISEN and Alpha Wolves. This should be a very, very exciting matchup that we can bring you today, and I am extremely stoked. Hopefully you guys have been watching the propaganda out there, because they have been drumming up quite a bit of hype for this. And I can't wait to see how this one unfolds. I, of course, am Bandit P17 from the Marine Mechs. With me, as usual, MDM00 from the Marine Mechs as well. Say hi.
Oh, hi. Yeah, hi, guys.
God, missing his cues already. And, of course, the return of Siri. How you doing?
Back after a long time. It's a pleasure to be here. I've We're going to be getting back into the game more so now. More details for that later. But for now, let's get into this game. Frozen City Night already starting up.
Holy crap. Sorry for the late start, guys. Had a lot to set up today, so we are just going to jump straight into the action, and we will talk about stuff afterwards. So real quick, while I do that, let me pull up this video feed. We are going to do picture-in-picture again for you all, so hopefully that goes relatively smooth. So there we go. That is rolling. And we are over on the red side right now with the Alpha Wolves, and they are on the move. This is drop 1 on skirmish, 4 lights, 4 mediums, 0 heavies, 0 assaults. On the Alpha Wolf side, we are seeing Stormcrows, Jenner Oxides, Jenner 2C, Enforcer 4R, Blackjack 1X, another Jenner O, so they have gone for the duplicate mech with the Oxides, Arctic Cheetah, and a Hunchback 2C. What do you guys have over on Isengrim's side?
Looks like a Hunchback 2C for Isengrim. Take a look here. We've got an Adder Prime. Another Hunchback.
Oh, we have a little bit of exchange on saddle already. The Oxides have met each other, and Isengrim has called the charge. They are over hard with their Oxides through saddle while the mediums charge up from Lower City. They are entering the fight right now. We are seeing a lot of the hurt mechs on Alpha Wolf side, but the Jenner 2C has gone down for Isengrim. First mech does go down for Alpha Wolves. We are seeing a lot of focus being dealt to Isengrim right now. Let's see whether or not that pays off for them. Really low percentages now on the Isengrim. Seems like Alpha Wolves is doing a really good job just landing their shots and keeping their stuff going here. We have 3 mechs chasing down a Stormcrow, and they just can't seem to bring him down. While this is happening, Isengrim mechs are starting to fall one by one. The Stormcrow is lagged. They are still trying to kill him. Zargulis in the Stormcrow down to 27%. Will not die. He has spent so much time
Finally
alive.
overheated and died.
He has been killed, but while this is occurring, 3 mechs now down for Isengrim. But Isengrim has been able to start to even things up, and we have 4 dead now for Alpha Wolves. So it took forever to kill the Crow, but as soon as he dropped, Isengrim was able to pick up another really quick kills. 3 now for Alpha Wolves remaining, 2 to 4 for Isengrim, but everybody's really hurt. The Adder down to 13% on the Adder. He does go down, so we are in a 3v3 fight
And it's
for their lives.
It's an Oxide and a Jenner 2 versus a Stormcrow, a Firestarter, and a Jenner, it looks like.
G-Hoppa, good, well-placed shot on the Oxide to finish him off, living with 33%. That was a very, very hard brawl. 8-6. Actually, that's 8-5 because you might have noticed MD is actually spectating on the other team. So 8-5 in favor of Isengrim. That went very quick, and it seemed to really bounce back and forth very quickly with who had the lead on that one.
Yeah, and what happened here is Super
Siri.
Atomic. Yeah, for ISEN, they pushed up right by the low dropship right away, and their Jenner 2C went over the saddle. That was Super Atomic Airplane. And he only got 73 damage, but he ended up coming in behind and turning 3 or 4 guys from AW0L, and so he sacrificed himself for all of that all the mediums to get into the engagement quickly and fairly fresh.
Yeah, I mean, I did notice that split. I thought that was a very good, solid split. I'm not sure whether or not in such a light drop like this, whether or not really sacrificing a 2C though lent too much to the fight, because neither team was playing much of a range deck. You're able to just kind of move forward and hop in there. But let's go right into the replay here. Let's take a look.
I don't know how much you're going to see on mine, but we'll have a look. But no, like I agree with you. It could have that definitely could have bit them coming into it at the end there, because they were down and they didn't actually have the greatest focus fire through the beginning stretch of the fight, especially with the Jenner 2C down. It was sort of through the mid they managed to stabilize and then start getting those kills back. But that was super fast.
Absolutely. I mean, those ones are definitely hard to call. we really... Stream comes up and in we go, and the battle's already over. I hope you guys have been paying attention and hanging out in the stream, because that definitely went incredibly fast. So we went over and we took a look at We saw Super Atomic, and I think it was an Oxide with him, streaming over saddle, and that was the key to Isengrim's movement from tail of dropship here. So IMC, you're watching the mediums right now. They are getting poked a little bit by the mediums. While this is occurring, they did send those two Jenners in the backside, so they've got them in a bit of a split right now. Now, I was watching the percentages. Super Atomic goes down incredibly quick, and the Jenner Oxide that was with them was Starwolf. He was down to 75% as well, so they did take a lot of hits from that. They were able to kill the Hunchback 2C to even it up relatively quick, but the amount of time that they were spending on that Stormcrow for Alpha Wolves was a little bit painful. I'm seeing he's at 70%. I'm watching 4 mechs chasing him around, 61%, 59, 53. He's located right here. This is what we're watching. 43. He does get lagged. And that slows him down.
He winds up suiciding himself at the end. He didn't even get killed by Isengrim.
So we've got 3 down for Isengrim. They did split their fight a little bit. The Blackjack gets taken down in the meantime, but there we go. He finally goes down, and when he does it, watch how fast the Alpha Wolf mechs that they have up here start dropping. They had a 40% one. He's dead. 39%. I'm pretty sure he's going to drop next. He's down. Enforcer goes down. Just after that devastating focus or lack thereof on the Stormcrow, the inability to take him down. Once they were freed off of him, we saw Alpha Wolf mechs dropping insanely quick, and even with 3 mechs remaining, that was quite the comeback. Terragato and the Firestarter, 73% was the freshest mech, but G Hoppa and the Stormcrow, 33, very hurt, and he gets the final killing blow.
Yeah, he finished that with a single small pulse laser.
I thought I saw SRMs coming from him. I felt like
it might have been his final shot was like his last volley of SRMs.
Yeah.
But when I got in there right at the end,
he had nothing.
He had no SRMs left, and he had a single small pulse in the head.
Absolutely.
So,
Terragato must have done something excellent, because by the time I started off spectating a Hunchback 2C and switched to him after Skuro died, which is about halfway through that brawl. Terragato was at like 99% halfway through that brawl in his health. I mean, I don't know whether he was just hiding around the corners or what he was doing, but he was so fresh that by the time, like you said, the focus was kind of back and forth. Really felt like AWOL started off strong, and then Isengrim kind of pulled it back together. But at the end of that match, you were talking about a bunch of beat-up AWOL mechs and a fresh Firestarter. I think having the Stormcrow alive was just an added bonus at that point, but whatever Terragato did clearly worked out for him.
Absolutely. But Isengrim wasting absolutely no time getting into that one. Let's take a look real quick at the map. Pretty straightforward strategy here. It looked like we had... I didn't catch the lances that they had set up in, but the general movement is they sent their Jenners up here, and I got this awesome new tool here. Look at this. I can... bam. Jenner... This is taking me way too much time to do. Oh, they don't even have the 2 season yet. But 2 Jenners. Oh, I have to fix that. There. Okay, 2 Jenners going up through saddle, and the majority of the... Who put a Stormcrow down there? Oh, I suppose that's not the problem. So then they send their mediums up tail of dropship. The Jenners almost immediately go swooping in down this way, and the tail of dropship movement went up in here, and we had a majority of Alpha Wolves set up in this... Who's drawing on my map? Oh, the MD ran off the map. You're killing yourself. You're so clever. You're so clever, man. But no, they were set up. They were Alpha Wolves was willing to slow the battle down. They weren't playing too aggressively. They were setting up a firing line. They were waiting to see what their opponents did. They had Blackjacks on their side, so they were able to do a little bit of poke if necessary. Isengrim, either they saw that and said, well, we're not playing poke with them. We're not built for that. Or they planned this from the start, that they were going to go hard over with a split run, saddle, and lower dropship, and just take it to them. And it seemed to work pretty well. Siri, what do you think? What did you see from all that?
I just went back over the replay again, and specifically what happened was the superatomic airplane. He was actually split off further left. He came down... You can see that on the map now, right?
Yep.
Okay, I have to refresh the page. So he went further left, and the other lights actually cut to the right and came in back over the berm with the rest of the mediums. Okay. And the big feature right here is there's a berm right along here.
That's Tactical Hill.
Tactical Hill is what you call it. Yep. And that was actually keeping AWOL safe from the entirety of Isengrim while they were killing Super Atomic Airplane. Now, if Super Atomic Airplane had died 3-5 seconds earlier, they would have been able to get that for free, turn around, and then be able to deal with the Isengrim push.
So he actually
But
drew a lot of them off of target
Yeah.
because of that.
Right, but he did it just long enough for the Isengrim push to make it over. So,
Okay.
if he had died a little bit faster, that would have been just a free pick.
I mean, that would
So-
probably explain why they were able to spend so much time on that Stormcrow and not be punished for it. I mean, there was at least 4 mechs on that Crow, and the percentage he ended up getting to and then ended up suiciding himself, managing to pull that off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. So we are going to be heading into Caustic Valley now. So let's go ahead and take a look. This is drop 2. Isengrim has taken the first drop, so we are up 1-0 for Isengrim. But drop 2 is 2 lights, 4 mediums, 2 heavies, 0 assaults. This once again is a skirmish map. It is a very light drop though. So let's take a look at what they have to offer. Apparently I wasn't typing on my screen, but here we go. And we'll pop the pip up.
Silly
all-
me looking around for where the mechs are.
All the mechs are coming in on their drop ships. We have split lances for both teams. They are spread all the way across the map. I am on, well, I guess I'm looking at MD killing himself. Rest in pieces. They have put an Oxide in his lance, though, and he's going to scout out the right side. Taking a quick look at the Alpha Wolves, we do have Hunchback 2C, Ebon Jaguar, Hunchback 2C. They opted for dual Hunchback 2Cs. Then they have Stormcrow, Blackjack 3, Timberwolf, Jenner Oxide, and Jenner 2C. A pretty standard build. I'd be willing to say that they are running Brawler. What do we have on the Isengrim side?
Isengrim in blue are running a Jenner 2C, a Jenner Oxide, 1 Hunchback 2C, 1 Hunchback 4 SP, that's a tanky brawl version, 2 Stormcrow Ds, an Ebon Jaguar Prime, and a Timberwolf Prime.
So Alpha Wolves have set up on the open area on the Caldera Rim, and they're just watching across the side. It looks like Isengrim is going to be making a move on their left flank. Alpha Wolves have some shots taken at them, and they're backing off. I think the Jenner 2C, though, had made the call of this heavy left side movement, and they are backing up to receive.
Yeah, he does have seismic. He picked up a seismic blip there.
So Reich and Famous has made the call that these guys are coming in, so they have shifted. Alpha Wolves has backed down into the open field, and they are ready to receive. They are sending some automatic fire down and hitting Mech the Dane, but looks like Eisen has stalled out. They have not continued on, and bad trades.
You know what? I think AWOL is a little more range here. They've got a 3 large pulse laser Blackjack. The Ebon Jag is mediums and Gauss. This is a little bit more of a range.
Isengrim has realized that they're going to have to close the gap. They are cutting across, and they are able to use this little bit of defilade to get a little bit closer. So Mech the Dane leading his troops over into the Caldara, and it looks like they are going to charge in from the left side. But we do have some trading going on from the Ebon Jag. Just trying to get a little bit of poke in there. Looking at the percentage, it looks to me like Alpha Wolves is starting to get the short end of the stick. 88% on their Jenner 2C, 90% on their Hunchback 2C. The Hunchbacks are taking quite a beating, so that's could cost them later. But G-Hoppa in the Ebon Jag down to 81%, and Crux in the Timber at 77%. So they are relatively even, and it's really going to come down to the movement that's made here. Super Atomic Airplane charging down the left side, going 1v1 against the Oxide. It looks like he might be suiciding in again. He's doing the exact same thing that happened in Drop 1. Doesn't look like Alpha Wolves is falling for it this time. They are focusing their fire on Terragato in the Stormcrow. He's down to 58%, still alive, but they are taking out Merc J in the Hunchback, which I believe is their drop caller. He goes down, and Terragato is actually able to stay alive. So they have launched that Jenner 2C as last time, but they have their mechs in the brawl where they want them, and they are starting to bring the
AWOL
fire.
looks like they're heat limited at this point.
Terragato does go down, but they have another Stormcrow working the Blackjack 3. There's a lot of split battles everywhere. 3 down now for Alpha Wolves, though, and the percentages are dropping quickly. Still could go either way, though, because the percentages on both sides, a lot of very hurt mechs. House in the Hunchback 2C has got himself into a little bit of a pickle running behind a rock. He's about to get taken down by Skuro, but now it's a kind of a 3v2 over here.
UCR Starwolf is overheating in his Oxide, and he's not getting punished for it.
Oh, absolutely. There's 3 mechs on either side. Percentage is now in favor of Alpha Wolves, though. And Starwolf does go down. Where are the two remaining Isengrim mechs? We got G-Hop and the Timber.
Isengrim, they got taken out of the fight when they moved into this water in Bravo 4. They were Overwatch mechs, and they got stuck trying to shoot across that Overwatch.
So we are getting back into a little bit of a poke brawl here.
Yeah.
The Eben Jake trying to do whatever he can, trying to get out of the SRM range of that Oxide and poke Goss in there. Oh, but he gets taken out by Zargulis and the Stormcrow running across the gap. And we are down to Crux and the Timber versus a Jenner Oxide and a Stormcrow. If he can stay out of that Oxide's range, the Oxide is going to run up on him. He's probably the biggest threat. It's not looking good for Crux. He needs to do something or he's going to get SRM'd in the face. Oh, he does survive the first hit. Oh, and he does go down. Drop 2 goes to Alpha Wolves 8-6. So they have come back with an answer. Both of these fights have been incredibly close. But he comes back. They come back, and they have tied it up 1-1. What a fight.
So Crux and G-Hoppa, they were both dual Goss in the Timber and the Eben Jake.
Yeah.
So they were literally the only ranger on their team, I think. Everybody else was more brawl setup. And Terragato, even though he got out of that first push alive, he actually ends this with only 17 damage.
Ah, yeah. They did a good job. After he filtered out, they did a good job switching targets, getting on them, and then as soon as Terragato showed his face again, they immediately took him down. That was a very heads-up play by Alpha Wolves to take him out of the picture. He did do a good job getting out of there, but they didn't chase. They didn't chase at all. They were like, okay, well, he walked away. Let's take out this next guy. Oh, there he is again, and switched back to him and finished him off. So that was a really good play by them. The two dual Goss mechs, the Timberwolf and the Eben Jake, Crux and G-Hoppa, were the highest damage on their team. They were allowed to sit back and just keep tossing shots down range. But unfortunately for them, it didn't seem like it was enough. Let's go.
Well,
take
that
a look
final
at the replay.
brawl engagement there, the Hunchbacks kind of got in there with the Oxides and everything, wound up being in the water in the back there, and there was a little bit of a ridge line that was blocking the line of fire for those Overwatch mechs. That's why they moved up so close, that they were in SRM range for those Oxides when that fight was over, because they effectively were taken out of the fight, and as soon as they were taken out of that fight, it went well in favor of AWOL there. Just, unfortunately, you know, can you really push up with those Overwatch mechs? I don't think so, but at the same time, you can't allow that brawl to fall behind cover, essentially.
So the first thing that I want to point out here, and we're seeing it on the replay right now, Super Atomic Airplane does the same thing he does in Drop 1. He ends up in a 1v1 fight and gets killed because of it. They got some initial shots on him, but it did not seem to distract or phase Alpha Wolves at all. They immediately started laying fire on the incoming mediums. They knew it was coming. They, you know, Isengrim kind of got away with it on the first one, and it worked, but this time they didn't let that distract them. So they immediately had fire going downfield into the main body, and we can just see people dropping like crazy both sides. Isengrim at this point has a lead, but it doesn't take much to take that back. And then, of course, having the two dual Goss mechs remaining, didn't, you know, that's a tough place to be in, especially when you're still inside the SRM range of the Oxide. I think it would have served them a little bit better to really dual Goss. They should have just booked it and reversed and played at as far of a range as possible, because I think the Stormcrow might have been running ER Meads, I think, and then of course the Oxide with the SRMs. Range would have been their friend for sure, but at that point everybody was hurt and things were unfolding incredibly quickly. But right here we're looking, it actually is still in Isengrim's favor by 1, but here's Zargulis. They get behind that rock, and I think that was good for them. Getting behind the rock, it really slowed down the fight, allowed them to reset themselves, and the Eben Jag loses half of his weapons. He still has the dual Goss though. And then a good CT shot there from Zargulis, charged from one rock to the other, and in transition just laid out those lasers. Letting him cool down might have actually been even worse than staying in range with the heavy laser boat on that Stormcrow.
Yeah, he was running really hot the whole game. I was spectating him for a while, but did a good job riding the override. He got overheat. He overheated a couple times with override engaged, and you could watch his structure get a little more cored out, but he did a good job not dying just to the override and riding the dragon, so to say, and really did a great job at the end there.
And that was 8-6 in favor of Alpha Wolves, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just punched that into my system, so...
Well, it might be 8-5
Yes.
if you're counting
No,
me.
8-6.
no, because it was
8-6.
8-7.
Okay, 8-7.
2 guys left at the end, the General Oxide and the Stormcrow B. Yeah, I don't want to pick on Superatomic Airplane too much, but I'm rewatching this, and the other light, UCR Starwolf, manages to come in from the right side at an excellent angle. The rock that AWOL was using as cover, he used that as a screen and closed in a good 700-800 meters without being seen. And he popped up right in behind the entirety of the force just as the push was happening. And I feel that if they had both of the lights coming in from that angle, that could have been enough to probably tip this back in favor. Because again, Starwolf, he was one of their higher producers, outproduced most of the mediums at 324 damage, and that was with, he ended up dying to, I believe, a side torso shot, while he was at something like 75%, so he would have gotten a lot more mileage out of that, if that shot had missed, and that could have been enough to tip it. But definitely if Airplane had been over there with him, and just a little bit more production out of that, then I think ISEN would have been in a fine position to take that.
Absolutely. So we're looking over at the map right now. If my memory serves, we had Alpha Wolves set up, I believe it is here, if this is correct. Is this that open part of Caldara, or is it over here?
It's right down here, just under Team 2.
Well, what they initially did is they moved up to...
Oh, okay,
there's an open
yeah.
gap in Caldara. They moved up there for any initial trades with their Docomex. Yeah, right there. Exactly. And then we had Isengrim come up pretty quickly up to Saddle right here. Once they had a scout. Yeah, I gotta get your stuff out of here. I'm deleting this. You guys are ruining my stuff. Get out of there, amateurs. All right. So then the Alpha Wolves did have a scout up in the Saddle region, right about here.
And he did have seismic.
He did have
got that
seismic,
initial
and he was
movement.
watching Isengrim's initial movement up to the Saddle. When that movement occurred, they had Alpha Wolves back up to this location. And in fact, I think it was actually a little bit further back here, because they did play near those rocks. They were kind of up in front of it, but in the general vicinity of this area. Isengrim, seeing that they have this entire open span from Saddle to that location, audibled with Mech the Dane leading the charge up through here and setting up in this general vicinity with a little bit of trading going on. Pretty even. The Daka coming in, the lasers, or the Gauss going out, seem to be relatively even. And then, once again, we see UCR Starwolf coming streaking in the side, and this time, instead of focusing on him, they got some shots on him, but instead of focusing him, they got into a little bit of a 1v1 light battle over there, and that freed up the Alpha Wolves to pew-pew lasers into, I guess it's this way, but into the incoming medium charge as Isengrim streaks down at them like that. And so I think that was big that they didn't get distracted by the light like they did in Drop 1, because they were able to put a lot of punishing blows on Terragato right out the bat, and they held him to 17 damage. That's pretty impressive.
Correction for the record, it was Superatomic Airplane. Starwolf was the one who came in from the right.
Starwolf came from the right.
Yeah, Superatomic Airplane was the one who came in both times from Saddle, and in this case up the left time. That was a Freudian slip. But yeah, Superatomic Airplane got into the 1v1 and was unable to distract Alpha Wolves. They kept their focus very good on the incoming mediums and heavies, and were able to put some punishing blows on Terragato, who's in the Stormcrow.
Yeah, and I saw in the chat after Drop 1 some Isengrim players commenting that was their strategy, to do a distraction with the lights pushing in over Saddle. Obviously, it worked on Drop 1. It was very clear that was their strategy for Drop 2 as well, but I think having that seismic information in Delta 5 in the beginning to know where the enemy was, and then kind of just the wherewithal to see that one light and realize, you know what, the rest of the team probably didn't push all the way over there. They're going to try and come straight in at us. AWOL was not fooled by that second light push, and clearly was able to just get some good damage out in the beginning of the game, which was what they needed to win that match, because that was a pretty close match at the end of it.
Absolutely. So we are going into drop 3 now. This is the Commander Assassination map. There's no light mechs on this at all. There's 3 mediums, 4 heavies, and 1 assault. And the assault has to be a Victor, which traditionally is an underperforming mech, and that's why they chose it in the rule set. So we've seen some interesting choices for the Victor. Willing to bet Polar Highlands we might see it bring in some maybe Gaussy or Large or something like that. Not too sure what they might bring in. See some Dragon Slayers out there. We didn't cover this before, but the rule set for MRBC, 1 of any chassis and only 1 duplicate allowed. So we've been seeing some choices of Hunchback 2Cs being the duplicate, Oxides being the duplicate, things like that. And then there's no strikes in the first 3 drops. They'll be allowed in drops 4 and 5. And so this is the first of 3 conquest maps now. So especially not having any lights, this being the first conquest, we might see some fast mediums. They might decide to go purely kill. What do you think we're going to see from the 2 teams on this one? Anybody? I've been seeing cicadas or shadow cats, maybe.
You see some shadow cats, I think, if a team decides that they want to go for the cap game. To be honest, I think most of the games that we've watched so far, the team that plays the cap game loses. The other team recognizes they're playing the cap game. They might have 1 or 2 fast mediums out trying to cap, and as soon as they see like 2 cap points moving at once, they are pushing right to the center, doing just a firing line, 8v6 sort of situation, and trying to get the numerical advantage, and it's been working. So I think we'll see maybe 1 team try and do the cap game. To be honest, I think if both of them have been watching how this goes, they might not do that. But, you know, it's very tempting to, especially on such a big map like Polar, to play the cap game. And essentially, I think it's mostly just the commanders worrying about losing to caps, and it kind of makes them do that sort of strategy, and then the more aggressive team winds up winning it.
Absolutely. Now, Isengrim so far has been the aggressor in both matches. They could definitely throw them for a loop, playing a little bit more passive suddenly and playing the cap game. So Alpha Wolves might be expecting some heavy aggression, but whether or not that actually happens, you know, this could be an opportunity for Dane to make a call that's unexpected. We'll have to see what happens. But
the big tell is going to be their choice in the mediums. There are no lights in this, obviously, so capping is going to get out of hand if you allow it to stagnate out, because you're not going to have the speed to go and decap at the end. But if one team brings like 1, 2 cicadas, or they go full ham and they bring 3 by going really, really super crazy, then that's going to be just a clear intention to cap. And that'll also give them a lot more freedom and mobility that they could use at the end. Now, it's going to cost them in the trading game. So we'll find out. We'll find out when it goes in. But it's going to cost them in the trading game unless they set those cicadas up. It's potential. They could do like the old BS cicada with PPCs. They could do sort of large laser ones on those. So it might not be too bad, but it's there's options there, basically.
Well, it looks like it's time to find out.
Absolutely. We are heading into the game right now.
And honestly, if there's any map in like the current pool that you would play BS cicadas and that sort of style on, it would be this one. Because it's big enough, it's got lots of opportunities to flex around.
Absolutely. So, yeah, this is a gigantic map. I do really enjoy this map, though, and the options you have. And it does look like a very flat, open map, but there really are a lot of avenues of approach that you can take to get to your enemy. And you can make a mistake on this, and it can be, for sure, punished. So both teams have to play very smart on this. So I am over on, once again, the Alpha Wolf side. We're taking a look. They opted to bring the Dragon Slayer. They have a Hellbringer Cicada. They have brought a Cicada 2A. Quick Draw 5K Ice Ferret. So it looks like Alpha Wolves, at the very least, might be thinking about playing a cap game here.
And on the other side, Isengrim's actually thinking the same thing. They've got an Ice Ferret. They've got 2 Cicadas.
2 cicadas. Interesting.
They have a Grasshopper, a Timber Wolf, and a Quick Draw. And a Hellbringer for their heavies, and then, of course, the Dragon Slayer.
So they actually have, if it comes down to caps, you know, if those 2 cicadas and the Ice Ferret group up, they could potentially win in some of these fights against the Ice Ferret and Cicada on the other side, just purely by numbers. Obviously, it's anybody's game and who lands the better shots, but at the same time to kill of the main body is going to be significantly lower if they opt to only trade with 5 mechs. So they could easily get out poked, and then it all comes down to those mediums. So general movement, we are watching Alpha Wolves coming down. They're actually heading straight to the center of the map. Looks like semi-aggressively with 4 mechs. They have 1 on Sigma, 1 on Kappa, and they are actually sending some guys over to Epsilon. The Ice Ferret and the Cicada are actually taking a roundabout wait to get to Epsilon. Epsilon is now in control. Isengrim has control of it, but they are recalling that Cicada. So they are spending a lot of time maneuvering to get to Epsilon, not knowing that somebody actually isn't there anymore. So that could hurt them on the cap point. So we have a lead so far. Isengrim up 3-2 caps, and main body has not seen each other yet. They are not exchanging any fire. But it looks like about 6 mechs for Isengrim are starting to move generally to the center
UCR
of the map.
Starwolf now has eyes on main body. I'm sure he's relaying that information right now. The 2 lights just saw them, and they're on their way to Sigma.
No lights, mediums, but yes.
Mediums, whatever.
Yep, and so they are actually moving in aggressively into Sigma, and you can tell Alpha Wolves sees them over there, and they're just trying to figure out what they want to do, but it looks like we have started some trades back and forth between main body. The Epsilon has fallen to the Ice Ferret and Cicada, but Sigma is quickly going to flip over. It looks like they might regain a little bit of their lead here, but we've just got those 2 mechs working around, and the other Cicada for Isengrim is staying with the main body, it looks like. A lot of heavy trades back and forth here. We do have some Goss. I think the Dragon Slayer and the Ebon Jag are tossing Goss on that way. In terms of numbers, the Dragon Slayer for Alpha Wolves down to 75%. G-Hop on the other side, who is the primary, down to 77 in his Hellbringers. So they are both landing shots, but I want to say...
We have a light fight in the backfield. Isengrim is turning to engage the AWOL lights. Inappropriate.
There's no lights, mediums.
They're lights.
The lighter mechs.
They're functionally lights.
Okay,
but...
so they are kind of baiting Isengrim Cicada out. Oh, they're actually going aggressive on him.
Yeah, they're pushing hard on him.
Main force, and they have.
As long as they're not taking hits, as long as they're not taking excessive hits from Alpha Wolves as they chase down, that's not that bad of an idea to try and win that fight on the side. Alpha Wolves can just sit there and do nothing, but they are still getting a lot of shots downfield. Dane and the Victor down to 86%, 85. So while they are shifting in that direction, they're actually kind of getting shredded a little bit by Alpha Wolves, who have taken position in the very center, and that's a high ground. They can almost see everything from that distance. So they have chased the Cicada and Ice Ferret out, and they got away relatively unscathed. But they are going to give up Epsilon to Super Atomic in the Cicada, and we're going to have 4 caps to 5 cap. That's going to be a 5 cap for Isengrim. So as long as they can keep their mechs healthy, Alpha Wolves is coming in aggressively, though. They are realizing they're losing the cap game. It's time to brawl. So we're going to see that Cicada and that Ice Ferret come back to Epsilon, and we're going to have, it looks like, an 8v6 fight, unless the guys at Kappa get into the fight pretty quick here. And that actually looks like...
It's going to be a double fight. It's going to be main body versus main, and these 2v2 lights over here.
Yep, this is going to be fun. You watch the medium fight. I'm going to go watch main body and just catch those trades. Let me know if it gets really exciting over there.
Well, it's definitely already in Isengrim's favor because the AWOL mediums were pecked off by the main group, whereas these 2 mediums for Isengrim are coming in completely fresh. So...
Alpha Wolves have set up a big firing line, and they are playing whack-a-mole.
And one of the Cicadas for AWOL is now legged.
They are playing power position. They are actually doing a moving power position. They are straight up rushing, shooting as they go. Independent, hiding behind a pod. He is going to get completely wrecked behind this pod. Hopefully he can take somebody with him. But the 2 lead mechs down below 50%. Not good for the main body of Isengrim, but the tickets are still going. And it looks like if they don't pull something off quick, this is going to go in favor of Isengrim. 500 tickets
just
to
got the
225.
second medium down.
And they still have all 3 of theirs up. They're going to just scatter, finish capping.
Yep.
It looks like they're actually coming back to this main fight.
Yeah,
Apply a
they
little
need
bit
to
of
go
pressure,
cap.
see what they can get.
Isengrim at this point is just trying to waste as much time as possible and keep as many of their mechs alive as possible, but I would find it incredibly difficult for
It's- I think
they
Alpha
need to
Wolves
go
to come
Fewer than
back.
200. It's fewer than 200 tickets. There's a 4 cap, and they're not even going to be getting Epsilon because these lights are coming back in.
Yeah, this is
That's-
definitely going in favor of Isengrim. Now it all comes down to how many mechs can AWOL take down to try and limit
They are still
the damage.
charging in towards the enemy. I'm not sure why they're doing this right now. They're charging
They want
towards
the
AWOL.
Dragon Slayer. They want the Dragon Slayer. That's why.
That that extra amount. Although
guess so,
if
yeah.
they lose their Dragon Slayer, it's all moot. Although it would be nice to be able to limit the bonus for AWOL, but honestly, if you lose those 2 mediums, then you just gave them that bonus anyways. And Terragato in the Ice Ferret does go down. I think that was a little bit of an unnecessary charge back.
Yeah, I'm really not sure I would have gone with that strategy.
They should have focused on keeping their mechs alive, because obviously this is going to go in favor of Isengrim because of caps, and it looks like they're scattering the last 2 out, keeping them alive. But the Victor does go down. Merc J has fallen. Yeah, the Victor is dead, so that means no bonus is going to be offered to either team, and Isengrim will take the full 300,000 C-Bill victory because of the cap win. They played the caps incredibly well,
Yeah, they did a
and
good job
Alpha
with that.
Wolves responded a little bit too slow. They needed to start that aggressive movement a lot sooner. They have taken down 6 mechs, though, so that will give them 150,000 C-Bills for the mechs destroyed, but the victory still goes to Isengrim.
How damaged was that Dragon Slayer before the lights came in?
He must have been
I think
pretty
he had
hurt.
an open torso. If I remember correctly, he had an open
Okay.
side torso.
So they got in and did their job. They did lose an Ice Ferret in the process, but maybe that was a good move. Just taking that
For a Dragon
50,000
Slayer?
away from him. Yeah,
Yeah, for a
Hashtag
Dragon
worth.
Slayer, absolutely.
it's Dragon Slayer's worth essentially 3 mechs. Although it didn't give them an extra C-Bills worth. It's worth 2 mechs. They were able to save that, but good shit. So kills for Isengrim was 4. Kills.
So just to clarify, if they cap, it counts as if they kill
It's a
everything
full win. Yep, it's a full
but
win.
a victor bonus. Okay.
Yep.
So-
They still have to complete the objectives of the victor bonus in order to get it. So it doesn't just give
Right.
them the victor bonus, but
Right.
they get a full 8-kill win and the extra 100,000 C-Bills that comes with that. So it's definitely worth it for them to do it. I've seen a lot of teams able to pull that off. The thing is about that strat, about winning on caps, it it gets you the win, and that's great. It's such a costly win, though, because you are throwing mechs into the win just to delay them as long as
Yeah.
possible to get the win. So yeah, you do come away with the win, but it's no 8-0. That's for damn sure. You're hemorrhaging mechs, and it all comes down to delaying as much as humanly possible. And they pulled it off, and that's great. They're going to get that counts as a win. But looking at the C-Bills, look at how close they are. Alpha Wolves at 575,000 with their 1 win, and Isengrim with 750,000 with their 2nd win. One match can send that flying in the other direction here. And if both team, or if Isengrim wins another one that close, and then Alpha Wolves comes in and gets an 8-0 stomp, they could potentially still win on C-Bills, even when losing the match 3-2. So they got to be very careful how many of these close matches they allow, because drop 1, 8-5, drop 2, 6-8, drop 3, essentially 8-6. That's so close that a big match could send that in any direction.
I think Isengrim could even have gotten cheekier in that match, because after they catch those 2 mediums coming around the back of main body, right, and they catch them in between that and one of the cicadas, and they start running, and A1
Draw it on the
realizes-
map. Let's draw it on the map. Let's do the map
let's draw it
first
on-
before the replay.
alright, let's go to the map.
Show
Let's
us
go to
what
the
you're
map.
talking about.
So, okay, this is oriented the correct way. Okay, so Isengrim was actually no, this is flipped, isn't it? As
No,
opposed to-
Isengrim is team 1 and team 2.
Okay, yeah. So Isengrim's down kind of around here, yeah, with their main body.
Yep.
They've got the 1 light sort of playing over here by Epsilon. They've got their other 2 lights who have gone all the. Wow, this is slow drawing like a new slide. Okay, there we go. Their other lights had gone all the way during the rotation, and AWOL had come across with their main just into here.
changing.
Sorry, I'll swap. I'll swap the red.
You've
for
got
the
my OCD kicking
case.
in here.
Great. So AWOL comes in with the main there. They've got the 2 lights who are going onto Epsilon. After they get that, they come in behind main body of Isengrim. They got caught, and Isengrim chases them back out. At this point, they were up like 450, 500 with a 4 or 5 cap.
That group going around the outside just did a fantastic job. They had one purpose, and they fulfilled that. Not only did they get those caps, but they were actually able to rejoin the fight on the back end. It's amazing that they were able to go that far, and Alpha Wolves waited so long. They allowed Isengrim to get all of those caps and allow those guys back in the fight. That was that wait, that delay is really what did AWOL in there for sure.
Yeah, so what I was thinking here is that right after this, once they got that, and they got a 3v2, Isengrim did, after those, they got a 3v2 over here against the remaining 2, and AWOL is charging down, trying to get this main body. Isen could have left all 4 of the heavies there, and then just taken Mech the Dane and be like, peace, I'm out, and ran this way. And like slip the entire main body.
Yeah,
and if
they
managed
could
to
have
pull that
probably
off-
saved quite a bit. I mean, that's punishing not only getting the cap, because like I said, when you win on Conquest, you're usually hemorrhaging mechs to delay them as long as possible. But if you get the Conquest win and get out with your entire force alive, that's professional. That would be insane.
I'm not saying entire force. I'm saying sacrifice the heavies to get the victory.
Okay. So
Because
yeah,
they kept the victory in the fight.
But they could have kept their 2 cicadas and their ice ferret alive, so that would have been substantial, and you would have been able to pick up the extra 50,000 on top of everything. So yes, I think they could have executed better, but you got to give them props. They came into this knowing they wanted to play the cap game, and that's exactly what they did. I don't think that could have gone any better in terms of what their expectations were. So that definitely went the way that they were hoping.
Yeah, AWOL set up on the middle, and they had those power positions, but like the power position's only worth something if you can get the enemy to engage you.
Exactly.
And ISEN was sitting back, and they had
no reason to engage. They did a little bit of their poke to soften them up, but why bother? They're winning the cap game. Stay down. Keep your heads down. They did have the Hellbringer and the Timberwolf, it looked like, got down below 50%, so AWOL did get their shots in there good, but it's almost like they were feeling like, well, Isengrim's just kind of standing out there letting us kill him. Let's just shred him. No, you need to get in there and get those, because you still, even if you kill all their mechs, you still got to contend with the caps. And so they were putting a lot of stock in ending that fight quickly, and unfortunately the movement didn't stick with that. I think that's one that they're going to go back and look at, and it's going to be very easy to tell where that went wrong for them.
Yeah, and as we mentioned in the beginning, before we even dropped that when a team plays the cap game, obviously Isengrim was, even though AWOL looked like they were prepared to do it as well, it was quite clear early on they were losing the cap game. When that happens, you need to charge in there aggressive, and it really felt like AWOL just waited too long to get in there, and then by that point it was too late. I think the mindset was right to push in. It's the right thing to do in that situation, but just when you take that much time, especially, I mean, as soon as they got a 4 cap, let alone a 5 cap, you should have been, full speed ahead sort of thing, and it just didn't feel like there was that sense of urgency. I know this being one of the first seasons where you're seeing Conquest be the competitive game mode, sometimes teams might slip their mind to check the ticket counter. Everyone thinks about it. Obviously, these two teams have been, this is near the end of the season. They've been playing all these matches, so they know it's Conquest. They know what's going on. But I think sometimes maybe kind of in the heat of battle, so to say, you just forget that, hey, we need to be watching those tickets, and if we're down 4 cap, 5 cap, we need to be full speed ahead, ultra aggressive on this, because we're in a world of pain, and especially on a map like Polar that's so big, you can't come back from a 5 cap that easily.
So
you need to get the kills.
I went back to the replay here, and one of the first thing that I came in on was actually a move that I was questioning at the start, but actually I really think it did work well for them. Alpha Wolves was in the very center of the map, and Isengrim was kind of near Gamma, off, to the west side of the map. They basically, and I guess the reason why you're a little confused is I think the map's flipped right now. I'm looking at the cap.
It is, yeah.
That's weird. Anyways, they made a shift well, after doing some decent trading, and not necessarily decent, it actually looked like they were kind of losing it. But they made a shift kind of in open terrain, and they were getting the entire time they were doing it. They were chasing those cicadas down, or the cicada and the ice ferret. And we were like, oh, I don't know if that's the best thing. They're taking damage while they're running in that direction, blah, blah, blah. Well, one thing, they got the mediums to stop their rotation. So they basically plugged that hole. Ice Ferret Cicada was no longer able to keep up with the 3-2 cap that was going on, and they stopped that dead in its tracks. While that's happening, their Ice Ferret Cicada moving around the other side of the map and gets the 5 cap. I think plugging that hole and keeping that cap game in their favor really worked well. So they took a lot of damage during that transition, but not only did they plug the hole, but they actually moved away from the main body of Alpha Wolves, and they had to traverse even more terrain to get in there. They didn't stay in the middle and just get rolled over. They moved further back into that city, and I think that cost AWOL a ton of time to have to chase them down.
Yeah,
so I
that's a good
really
point.
think that was a very good maneuver by ISEN. They took a lot of scratch from it, but the amount of terrain that AWOL had to cover, AWOL really need to have the W key down that entire time if they ever hope to catch up to them. So it was a good maneuver, and I think it really did buy them a lot of time.
And it helped them win that light fight. I mean, they won the medium fight. I'm sorry, fast mediums. They won the fast medium fight in part as a result of the extra damage that they put on those fast mediums during that engagement.
Dane! I was just watching Dane, the Timberwolf bright red CT, and if he got that, he could have lived a little bit longer and maybe have gotten away, but the Gauss shot hit the top of his head and didn't count as a CT shot. It must have grazed the shoulder. But he actually almost finished that Timberwolf while getting chased down. That was pretty epic to watch there.
Moral of the story, Dane, fewer push-ups, more practice in the gunnery. But no, if you look at... you're watching the replay right now, but if you flip back to the map, I've drawn sort of a orange pentagon on the middle. And that's basically outlining sort of the no man's land in the center, where there's all the hilly, high terrain. And the issue is that when you get into that, you're getting away from the outside where the caps actually are, and you're giving up the cap control. What ISEN did was they skirted the edge of this, and they controlled Gamma and Epsilon with the main force. When AWOL steps into the middle, into H9, even early with that power position, that means they're giving up their entire backfield, the Kappa, the Sigma, the Theta, and that's because they don't have the lights in there to contest, or rather they were trying to do it on the other side. That's what gives the freedom, because they're in that no man's land.
And that's a big thing too, is that maybe AWOL should have, because they knew they were going to win the heavy battle, because I mean they had numbers on it. Maybe they should have focused on their Ice Ferret and Cicada fighting the surge from the Ice Ferret and Cicada for ISEN. They were rotating, they were NASCARing basically, and they were keeping it at a steady 3-2, and it was flipping back and forth. That allowed ISEN, who opted to stay on that outside, to plug the hole. And then that means the Ice Ferret Cicada had to retreat back across Epsilon, and unfortunately then for them, they're no longer winning the cap game. So maybe they should have focused at least harassing ISEN's mediums and preventing them from doing that. But then at the same token, ISEN did have that third Cicada that was available to then start going around the other way if that happened. So it's hard to say what would have worked, but I do agree with you. The center of the map is, you can see everything. You can pretty much hit anything with an ER large laser when you're sitting in the middle, but you really are giving up the rotation around the outside. They can just run for days and not take anything. And so when you're in that position, maybe it would work really well in skirmish, but you can do trades, but trades aren't going to win you the match. And so then they had to make a decision to run up. So I do agree with you. Center of the map, I don't necessarily think that you should completely avoid it, but you shouldn't stay there. You definitely shouldn't stay there. You need to get there to get your vision, get your shots in, and then get on them when you realize that you're not going to win the cap battle.
Yeah, and honestly, I would say this is the trickiest map in the current pool for the Conquest game, because it's going to be decided at whatever decision you make and where you're going at, like, maybe 75 tickets on the map. Like, you win or lose that early in the match.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they needed to stop those mediums if they were going to flip it back the other way, or they needed to get their bigger guys definitely more aggressive and sweep those back points. But because they would have had to have doubled back all the way to Theta Sigma to flip those back the other way, and that's a long haul for a Victor and a bunch of heavies. You know, that's not easy at all. What was the third medium for AWOL? Was it like an Enforcer 4R or something like that, or I didn't catch what it was.
You know, I wish I knew what it was, but I honestly didn't catch it either.
It was...
They definitely went for killing.
It was a Hunchback 2C.
Hunchback 2C. So, and they brought it with the idea of winning that poke battle, but
Yeah.
Isengrim definitely had another idea in mind and went with the triple cap mediums. Can't say that was a bad plan, because it definitely worked out. So we are going into Drop 4. Canyon Network, another Conquest match. This one is actually an even 2-2-2-2 split. Kind of interesting to watch this one because from what we're hearing, that's kind of what the grand tournament's going to be like. They probably won't have the same restrictions for one of any chassis, one duplicate, or anything like that. No. But this is going to kind of give you an idea of what the flavor is for 2 lights, 2 mediums, 2 heavies, and 2 assaults. A very rounded team. So this will be fun to watch. This is the first map where strikes will be allowed. So we will get to, if anybody's doing any standoffs, we'll see a lot of smoke and a lot of really big hits from those arties. Let's go take a look.
This might be the map that they use, because it looks like it's going to be a single map.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah. And Canyon Network is one of the leading candidates, so we might be seeing a lot of this in a few months' time.
Get used to it, guys, because this is going to be the flavor of the year. We're going to be seeing a lot of Conquest on Canyon Network, maybe. Oh, 3 months.
Yes. It's going to be for the round robin.
For the round robin stage, yes. But I am over on the Alpha Wolf side, because that's where I always start. We're seeing dual Mauler MX-90s, a Black Knight Hunchback 2C, an illegal deck.
What?
2 Stormcrow. Oh, sorry, MD, you freaking MD. Bastard! You're freaking me out, man.
Illegal deck.
Illegal.
Stormcrow already overheated.
Stormcrow already did, yeah. You bastard. Okay, so Black Knight, Arctic Cheetah, Jenner 2C, Hunchback 2C, Stormcrow, Timberwolf, Dual Mauler, MX-90s. What do you got over on the Isengrim side?
We have a Jenner O, a Jenner 2C, a Nova C. I want to see what that has. I
hope Dane's in the Nova.
Summoner D.
Oh, he's not.
Griffin 3M.
Isengrim is actually moving down the canyon. This is an interesting maneuver.
Just wrecked by it. Look at Dane going down. Oh my goodness.
Crux is down to 49%. Dane leading the charge with 82. That was a very brutal way to go. I see a lot of people typically go over to Epsilon when they have this side of the map, and they get a free look down that canyon. But Isengrim has made it up without losing anybody. They took a lot of damage, and Crux is able to stay back.
To do that.
It took a lot of damage, but they are getting into the fight. If they are running full brawler on this, they could do work. Dane leading the charge, and they get Merc J in the MX-90. Dane dropping a lot of SRMs on target. They are working the other Mauler down now, 59%. They're trying to get him down, but they have lost 3 mechs to 2. Cap's obviously heavily in favor of AWOL, but this is going to be over really quick. Got a lot of split fights. Dane does go down in the Summoner. They have 4 mechs remaining to 5 on AWOL. They're keeping pace. But G-Hoppa, R2-D2, and Independent are out of the fight. They're down below, and it looks like the Executioner is going to be taking a lot of hits here. Bad overheat by the Jenner 2C has got him a little bit extra damage. But here comes the Griffin 3M and the Jenner 2C rocking around the right side. It is still a 4v5, now 3v5 battle. Things looking like they're starting to go in favor of Alpha Wolves.
Yeah, this is going to go for Alpha Wolves.
Executioner getting poked in the back by a completely fresh Arctic Cheetah. He's going to be going down relatively quick. He does overheat, and he is down, and that is it. That battle quickly in favor of Alpha Wolves, 5-8.
And I think ISEN was trying to get cheeky there, and I don't know if it was just... If it was a pre-planned strat that they called before they had the scouting, or if it was just a scouting intel said, no, they're down low on the right-hand side, push the left, down low, you'll be fine. But there's no other words for it. Something went very, very wrong on the decision to make that push down low because they lost almost 4 mechs before they got out of that.
Absolutely. I mean, that I've never seen that move called before, and I do think that might not have been the best idea because, like I said, a lot of people, when they have this side of the map, and let's go take a look at the map right away here. We have Team 2 for Alpha Wolves, and a lot of times we see more of a range deck for Team 1 setting up in the D4 region. This is a very strong position. And because this is a very strong position that gets used incredibly often, we see a lot of Team 2 teams opt to come down to the Epsilon side and set up in this region right here for a potential push down into the D4 if they are running range. Now, Isengrim decides to go full Brawl instead. Can't say that that's necessarily a bad idea, but what we have is Isengrim coming up through the pit. So they send everybody up, straight up in this region here. You have the traditional move by AWOL to set up in here. They're able to get there a lot quicker and get sight lines down this direction and are able to put some pretty... God, the map just did that thing again. We're trying to work on fixing the bugs there. Shell's working on it. But they are able to start shooting down into that pit and get quite a bit of damage downfield before Isengrim's even able to get in there. They were obviously trying to do something sneaky, but unfortunately, I have seen many teams move into Charlie 4 and look down that lane. I mean, we even did it on our match. We took a look down that lane, and that's the one where... who we were playing? Was it Smoke Jays? They opted to go past Epsilon, and we were able to set up a firing line and set up to receive. But either way, if they came down that canyon, we would have seen it coming and would have been able to start tossing shots downfield. And when you've got dual MX-90s that at that distance, they're able to get up there and start firing before Isengrim even breaches past Theta, that's a lot of damage coming downfield at you. Unfortunately, they might have even done better going like Charlie 3, but you got those 2 lights roaming around that are able to scout for you and call it out. What do you guys think with Isengrim's deck? Where should they have gone to be able to get on top of AWOL without taking so much damage? Because I really think that's what it came down to, is just taking that massive damage, walking down that path. It's hard to come back from.
Well, I want to point out one thing. If AWOL had set up a little more traditionally out to... Oh, that's blue. Red. If they had set up a little more traditionally out to here, and like here as well, then I think Isengrim could have tanked that, because if they hug the right side wall in that approach they take, they cut out all the guys over by Epsilon. They have to like step all the way over the C4, not so bad. But because AWOL was all stacked up on the C4 hill, all on the left-hand side, or well, their right-hand side right there, that was a perfect firing line all the way down this alley. That was like the worst possible setup, and that's why I was saying that that's my question.
And Isengrim is so committed. When they're walking down that path, they literally have the only options to maybe dive into Theta before you get there, but you're so committed to that charge that seeing a mech poke up when you're nowhere near SRM range, it's got to make your heart sink big time.
Well, and that was the thing, is they had their 2 lights, the Jenner 2C, the Jenner Oxide. They pushed them up onto this Epsilon corner, and they should have gone in the scouting. And once you get that, that's when you can take the angle for the push. But I think, like, even before that, if you're asking where they could have gone that's better, through Theta. Like, literally just through Theta, you get up to this rock, and you've taken no fire, as opposed to being lit up all the way through D4.
Absolutely.
And then you can take, well, if they're stacked on the right, then we can, like, come in through here, come in down there.
They could have even gone straight up the right side to Epsilon, and that cuts the corner there too, and you have a lot of rocks that you can use to get into a position. And you've got them backed up against the canyon wall where they can drop down and potentially be taken out of the fight. And then we ended up seeing the opposite of that. We saw a lot of Isengrim mechs that were out of the fight because they had to jump down into the pit, and they weren't able to come back in a timely manner. And while that was happening, their executioner was getting completely shredded.
Yeah, and I think looking at that strategy, and based off how AWOL set up, like Siri said, AWOL basically just had Maulers and Black Knights looking right down from Charlie 4. I hate to say it, but that was probably the worst strategy Isengrim could have done short of like running out of bounds.
I mean, maybe they thought
that
their
map.
lights were going to be able to distract, but
I
even
think they
still-
committed to it from the start to get. I mean, I
I'm
will
sure they
admit
did.
were
That-
through that canyon quicker than I maybe would have expected.
Yeah.
Certainly quicker than I think they would have been if they were scouting what AWOL was doing. They committed to that before the drop even began. They said, we're going to go through this canyon. As soon as they did, they were W key down, and you know what? AWOL just was in the perfect place with all of their heavy firepower. It wasn't like they had a couple lights in Charlie 4 looking down that canyon just to see where they were. They had like their entire team there, Black Knights, Maulers, just nothing you want to see when you've got a straight shot from high ground down into low ground. You know,
So I'm jumping
I don't know
back.
what else to say.
I'm jumping back to the replay now. They sent their light group right up to that Epsilon corner immediately. That's R2-D2 and Super Atomic Airplane. I mean, you're almost drawing their eyes to the perfect position, and I mean, the lights could have maybe made the call that, oh shit, they got a firing line there, don't come up here, but we're seeing this train of mechs coming up that pit. And yes, they did traverse it incredibly quick, but oh my god, that firing line is so...
It doesn't matter.
It's so hard to fight against that. The Timber getting rocked down below 50, Dane getting hit down to 82, but they're, even as mechs come out of focus, they're able to just switch to the next guy in line, because they're not even in a real tight murder ball. Their assaults were in the back, their heavies were,
They were
up in
strung
front
out,
of them.
yeah.
I mean, they were pretty strung out. And then, so let's, I guess, try and see where the focus was. They did get on the Maulers relatively quick. They did a really good job taking those Maulers down, but they're already down 3 mechs. They lost an Oxide. Super Atomic, at some point, got completely wrecked down. And AWOL's focus was just fantastic here.
Yeah.
We're seeing the just percentages dropping for one mech after another. I think they got off of the Executioner at one point because he became inaccessible. But then the Arctic Cheetah coming up behind him and just taking him out smoothly from behind. No threat to the Arctic Cheetah whatsoever. Even if they managed to take down a lot more of the mechs for AWOL, having a completely fresh Arctic Cheetah, that's rough. That would be really rough to fight against. So we're just watching the tail end of it here, and go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think there's anything else we could say about that drop other than Isengrim, don't do that again.
I don't think there's anything Isengrim wants us to say beyond that.
Yeah.
I think a little bit better scouting to audible out of that maneuver, because I want to say that they had all jump jet mechs. They brought executioners, dual executioners. At any point, they could have maybe dove into Theta to get away from it. And I think a little bit more of a solid scouting to say, they have Maulers, and they're in a firing line right where we're about to go. Audible, get the hell over the wall.
At least if you're going to do that plan, add a little bit of time in the beginning to allow the scouts to scout and be like, oh, hey, this isn't going to work. I mean, it wouldn't matter. I mean, the lights got up there and said, hey, you're about to walk into a giant firing line. By the time they said that, I think they were already in the firing line. It didn't matter that they knew it was there.
At that point, when the scout tells you that and you're getting pelted, you're like, thanks.
Yeah.
I know.
They have a firing line.
What are you
I
good for?
know. I'm dying to it. Thank you.
Tell that to my CT internals.
They
Anyways, we're
did
loading
have
into
those.
River City, so
I think they had those lights staying relatively low on their approach. They should have been watching the entire time. But either way, the firing line gets set up almost instantaneously because all they have to do is step up a hill, and now they're in a firing line. So even if you're watching it intently, the firing line develops so fast at that position that just suddenly there's Maulers there. Great, we're freaking in trouble. So I mean, that was brutal. We do have a really good crowd out here today, and I'm very happy with that, especially with 2 matches going on. We have the Night Scorn versus 42 match happening simultaneously. So hopefully you guys are tuning into both and able to see those. Otherwise, definitely these will be up on YouTube after the fact, so you can catch both matches and see that exciting MRBC action. Because we got such a good crowd today, stick around after Drop 5. I will be giving away a 500 MC code to a random viewer. All you have to do is exist in the chat, and you'll have a chance at winning a 500 MC code. So definitely
Looks
stick
like
around.
there's a hold going on right now on this drop. Had a disconnect.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're in the match, and let's see whether or not they opt to mulligan or whether or not... what's going to go on here?
Looking at here on chat while we're in the middle of this hold here, and it looks like Terragato is saying that they were supposed to rush AWOL and basically were underestimating how long it would take them to set up.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so. But
I have been
tough.
I have been a victim of mistimings, especially on River City in our match, where we thought we could get up and set up a firing line in Upper City, and 42 took us to school and taught us that they can cross river before we even get up there and set up. And
seeing here from AWOL's perspective in chat as well that they were planning to set up for that theta push through that Siri suggested.
And
said
it just
that
kind
the
of fell in their
MX-90s
lap.
would stop by the rock, and that the rest of the team was going to set up near Epsi. So they were going to go to that other rock, but by the time they got to the Charlie 4 rock, they didn't got to Epsi yet. They looked down the line, and there they all were.
Surprise! They kind of gifted that one to him for sure. But yeah, definitely missed timings on this. You got to do your science and stuff, and I've been caught out on that big time myself, not fully understanding the maps and how long it takes to get mechs there, especially when you're hauling assaults with you. Now, executioners are relatively fast mechs. They obviously were putting a lot of stock in getting them there quick, but it doesn't take much for a mauler to get up into that position, and they definitely did some work. So we are in a holding pattern right now for Drop 5, but let's talk about quick Drop 5 River City. 2 lights, so they do have the lights in there, 0 mediums, 2 heavies, 4 assaults. This is a much, much slower match with those 4 assaults. I am over on the Alpha Wolf side, and we are seeing dual Mauler MX-90s, which is a very popular choice with the current meta because of the very long range and the punishing. You could take them in a brawl, for Christ's sake, and it would do a lot of damage as you're tossing 25 damage a trigger pull downfield very accurately at an optimum range of about 800 or so. It's a very, very popular choice right now, and we're seeing a lot of them in use. They have brought a Direwolf and a Banshee 3M. The build on the Banshee 3M, 3 large pulse, 5 medium pulse, so they have some reach. But that is definitely meant for more of a mid-rangey blast action. The Direwolf is pure DACA at 3 Ultra AC-10s and 2 Ultra AC-5s. Very mixed deck, but a lot of ballistics used on the assault side for AWOL.
Yeah, and
looks like
the
that
2
player is
AC-20s
reconnecting soon.
The 2 AC-20s on that Atlas, and what else is in there? Yeah, the 2 Atlases. ISEN is looking for a brawl, no question here.
Interesting. So they opted for is it dual Atlas S's then?
Yep.
Okay, so they're definitely going to be the aggressors here. Hopefully that guy gets connected really quick, because
he is already in, and here we go.
Okay, we are moving. With the 5-minute delay, they're getting a good look at the other team's deck, and in fact, in about 50 seconds, AWOL, if they're tuned in, they are going to see what Isengrim is bringing to the party. So hopefully they can get their stuff set up pretty quick, because unfortunately, that hold cost them a lot of their sneakiness, I guess, with those builds. Hopefully they weren't paying attention, but Mauler MX-90 dual Atlas S's and a Direwolf on.
Well, if you look at the alternative, the redrop would have let them know what the builds were either way. So
absolutely,
not too much loss there.
I would say that this could very well have been detrimental to Isengrim, but it all comes down to execution.
I would say they're very honorable and they're not watching the stream.
Yes,
so.
Let's hope that is the case.
Well, the other thing to point out, though, is that Isengrim's going a brawl deck, and they do have, I think, the better access to the 3 cap.
Which
that is
yes,
true.
which they have
control
now.
the map.
Yep, they have
taken Theta. The key thing here is that AWOL is going into the water between Sigma and Kappa, whereas ISEN has now isolated Theta. They've shoved their main force towards that, forcing the lights back.
AWOL is actually moving up into brawl range with this. That's actually interesting.
So if ISEN just disappears to the left behind Alcatraz, behind Citadel, whatever you decide to call it.
And now they're taking some fire.
Yeah, they can actually send a light up to Epsilon, and now they have a 4 cap, and it's come at me, bro. I have Atlases. What you got?
And then it doesn't matter if you know what the hell they're bringing, because that's a deadly combination, dual Atlases to punch through. No matter what you're bringing, you need to take those guys down very quick, because especially if you leave Atlases alone, we've seen them able to completely wreck an entire team and even come back and win a goddamn match if you leave them alone. So here we go. We've got Isengrim set up at Citadel in a very big kill pattern here, waiting for AWOL to make their move as they just suck in the tickets, and we're going to have that movement. It's going to be a brawl. I would say that this is pretty much... Oh, this Oxide is ballsy as hell. If he peeks that corner, he's going to have a bad time. But this is... This is going to be very good for Isengrim.
There's a little bit here of the terrain you can see through but not shoot through, so you use that to get eyes on the Atlas.
Smart, very smart.
And
for that
Isengrim does have a couple mechs with seismic sensors, so they can see movement on the Citadel.
So they have neutralized Kappa, though, and they're standing firm. They are sending Isengrim mechs up to take Sigma, as you said, so they are going to still maintain the 3-2 cap, and the delay will be minimal at best, so caps will still be in favor of Isengrim. From Sigma, where can they go from there?
I was actually saying...
you were saying Epsilon.
Epsilon.
Yeah, I think
yeah, wow, they got Sigma. That's
but
big.
They can take it. They can take it. That's good on them for realizing that. And now they take that. They can go back and take Epsilon safely. And now it's the same situation where it's a 4-1, 4-0 cap.
So then looks like we got a little bit of a trade battle here, and a good strike on G-Hoppa and the Mauler.
It's going to be a light battle
hurt
at
him
Sigma,
there.
potentially.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of trading from Citadel, but let's go take a look at Sigma. If I was those guys, I'd just book it out.
And they broke off. Yeah, they pulled out.
Go get the free cap at Epsilon. They'll come at Sigma very timidly, and you've got yourself a race for sure. So that's exactly what they're doing. They're giving up Sigma, but they made AWOL actually shift back. Now, a lot of the Eisen mechs took a beating through the Citadel, just through this firing lane here. They set up their dual maulers to just look down that, and the Direwolf did take a lot of hits. He was able to return fire pretty well on Merc J, but I'd say that trade went in favor of AWOL. If they get many more of those, you know, who knows how the actual brawl will turn out, but they're still hemorrhaging tickets with a 3-2 cap.
And they realize that they're pushing up more towards the Theta side. They're getting into this river, they're getting ready for it. And the question is, has ISEN seen it?
So, really, inaction is going to be very bad for AWOL. They can't afford to dick around. Oh, wow, okay, we got a light poking through. This Direwolf is
Here's a
taking
baller
beating.
coming up down underneath.
They are working the Direwolf down. They got the Arctic Cheetah on his back, too. They got a lot of free hits on him. But yeah, AWOL cannot afford to stagnate. They need to threaten Theta and take it back. The caps aren't that far out, but now Isengrim is actually getting bottlenecked in this area. This is a very
they are
bad
bottlenecked,
place
and here
to fight.
comes the push.
The brawl needs to happen right now. Eisen needs to take this. They can't sit here. They got to get these Atlases in there. Crux is leading the charge at 72 and gets completely demolished. The Banshee throws one into the chest and takes him out quick. That was very good firing by AWOL, but here comes the second Atlas. They are working down the Banshee, who's out of position right now, and the Arctic Cheetah as well. But the Atlas, all on his own, 1v1ing the Direwolf, and takes him down essentially solo. Now he's going to work on the next target. They got the guys in the background. Jenner Oxide, Starwolf does get into the back and helps work down the MX-90 before getting taken out himself. We are at 3 Eisen mechs to 4 for AWOL. The Atlas is still alive, and he's getting in here on this Eben Jake. If he's still got weapons, he can do some serious work. Mech the Dane and the Summoner down to 31%, and he is taken down. Definitely in favor of AWOL 4 kills, but the caps are still ticking. And if Corpse Z stays alive in his Atlas much longer, he needs to take out this Eben Jake and move on, though. He is getting hit in the back.
He
is stripped.
Okay, and that's
this
it.
Is going to
all
go
she
in
wrote.
favor of AWOL, I think.
Oh man, what a fight!
That was
the inaction. I was saying inaction for AWOL would be very bad, and they moved, and then the inaction for, in my opinion,
Eisen.
inaction on Eisen killed them in that choke point, and that cost them dearly. That cost them, and that does go in favor of AWOL. That was an incredibly hard-fought fight. Eisen does take 4 mechs, but they stagnated on that corner, and that tossed it away. So this one goes 3-2 in favor of Alpha Wolves.
And now on the replay, I would love to see what happened early on there to that Mauler. By the time I switched over to spectate the Mauler for Isengrim, he was already stripped, and it was right in the beginning of the push when they were all moving in there in that early brawl. I mean, he didn't have any torsos, he didn't have any weapons. I don't know if a light came up behind him and stripped him out or what, but
No.
brutal.
So what happened is he tried to peek through the middle of Citadel onto the ISEN guys the ISEN Mauler tried to peek through the middle of Citadel on AWOL when AWOL was shifting back to take Sigma. Now, the issue was that it wasn't all of AWOL shifting back. One or two of them were still keeping their guns on to watch for it. And so he's trying to trade 1v2, not a good time. But when those lights for ISEN bailed off of Sigma, ISEN lost all of the eyes they had on the main group of AWOL. And so they were able to group up and come around that river, and the Mauler had no idea. They didn't have seismic.
Yeah.
The Atlases were sitting back. He was the only one watching that, and they came around in a good group, and he's the only range mech they have. And again, it's like a 1v3, 1v4. He got wrecked. And then, and again, that's the second issue being those Atlases being so far back, they now have to close in. If they had been up on the corner of the Citadel with ready to pounce down, realizing that, hey, the push is coming, they're going to try and do something about this, let's be ready, right here, it's come at me, I'll punch you, and then they could have landed that. But because they were split up, the only answer is they're all up there at the corner, or they all back it down, and that Mauler's not exposed, and they just keep him in reserve. But doing it halfway, that's the mistake.
Yeah.
So let's take it to the map now. So just a quick drawing up here of the general movements. Team 2 is Alpha Wolves. They take it down the Gulf line to challenge Citadel. Isengrim stays buttoned up in this region right here, playing the come at me bro. They had Gamma Theta Kappa for the longest time, gave up Kappa to the light mechs for AWOL, but they went in and challenged Sigma and then went back for Epsilon. So they were doing really well in the Cap game. Here's where I think it went wrong for Isengrim. This movement right here for AWOL, we were just saying inaction for AWOL is going to cost them again if they do it. They made the move. Now they stayed far enough back to use their range to be able to punish Isengrim as they came around that corner. Yeah, they stayed even further back than I drew it there. We'll whip out the eraser and fix that little mess up there. But yeah, they were staying all the way back, and they were right backs against the wall. Now, they did have the one Banshee come up and challenge him at the rock, and he got a very vicious, I'm pretty sure that was him, got a very vicious shot into the CT of the first Atlas, took him down from, it was almost like 75% to 0 in one volley, right to the core. So that was huge. Taking down one of those Atlases that fast was costly. But this, right here, is what cost Isengrim. Just sitting there, they were hitting each other, they were touching each other, they had the freaking Cheetah coming up. The Cheetah did a really good job challenging through the center of Citadel, was pounding the Direwolf. The Direwolf had to back out of that position. Direwolf started getting pounded by the MX-90, just getting completely wrecked from every angle. And it just took... I'm sitting there waiting like, Eisen, you gotta go! You gotta go! Stop standing there. They're challenging you on the trade. It's time to go. Sorry. And they went, but at what cost? What did they pay?
It was way too late.
It was way too late. They had to be set up for, as soon as they show their faces, it's time to go. If you're gonna sit there, they could have backed around behind Citadel again. They could have just kept playing the ring around the rosy and played the cap game, but getting stuck in that spot cost them.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is there are two options where they either, like you say, they back out, they go around the side of Citadel, and there were lights there that they could have tried picking off, and just kept their lights going for Epsilon. Like, you knock out those lights, and now you have a ring around the rosy, and your lights are still alive. That's GG, you're done, you win. And then, like, they can easily come up, they can come across the middle, because they're going to try and leave something else on Theta, and now you have a close brawl. You go through the middle of Citadel, you just drop down on the Theta where they're trying to, like, oh god, we need the caps, we need Theta back, and, suddenly Atlas is to your face. But the other option is that their Atlases need to be up past Theta on this corner, ready to go.
Absolutely.
And then when AWOL comes up around that, that's like a third of the distance that they had to travel.
One important thing of note is that while they were playing that cap game, they had Sigma first, and they withdrew to Epsilon, which is a good move.
Right.
They lost
They
their
never actually
scouting.
made it there.
They lost
They
their
never actually
scouting,
made it
though.
there.
They never made it there because the fight happened. The entire transition, though, they did not have their eyes on AWOL. They did not know where AWOL was and where they were moving. And I think that's really what screwed them the most is we would say, why would they sit there? Why would Isengrim sit there? Because they had no clue that AWOL doubled back and was coming through water. That's the
You know what
only
I think
explanation.
also cost them there is that they had some mechs with seismic sensors picking up those lights on the other side of Citadel, and I think that might have also confused them getting those blips on seismic.
They probably
occasionally
thought they were
thinking,
still in G5.
Yeah, what are they doing? They might still be in G5. I don't think they expected that push around the corner.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that, you know, you got to win the cap game, obviously, and they got a little greedy, I guess. That would be a 4 cap going for FC, but maybe those lights should have stuck around and just called the movement, because information is power in this game, and unfortunately for them, not having that information, somebody needed to fill that role in keeping an eye on where AWOL was going. Because that double back put them in a primo position, and we were like, oh, well, they're kind of in brawl range now, but that's still a lot of, like, from this corner here to this corner here, that's a long distance. Oh, the freaking map did that thing again. I'm sorry, guys. We'll work on fixing it.
Again, this is why I thought they were going to go for Epsilon, because not only is it a little more conservative, and once you get it, you're going to keep it, because otherwise their lights have to go, like,
all the way
crossing over your group, but it's also an upper city, right? Like, up on this side, you get high, and you can see all the way down through here, and that gives you map control. You leave one guy up there, or scouting control at least. You leave one guy up on there, and you only really need the other guy to go down this corridor to get into Sigma, if they haven't answered it already. And so now you've got that flank safe, you get Sigma, you now have a 4 cap with Sigma, like everything but Kappa, and your group is ready. Like, your assault group is ready for anything coming from the east. You want it to be coming from the east, because that's prime brawl territory, right in here.
Yep. Definitely.
So.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas on this one that I think both teams will be watching this and saying, like, well, we could have done something different there, but AWOL definitely did what it took. That movement to challenge them across Theta was very well played, and that definitely got them what they needed. So the final result of this match, 3-2 in favor of Alpha Wolves, pulling 1,275,000 C-Bells. They did, one thing to note, they did get the bonus on those last 2 drops. They killed all of the heavies and the assaults, and in fact, they got the bonus on the drop that they lost on, or no, they won Canyon Network as well. So picking up the bonuses for those as well, those are 350,000 C-Bell wins. Those were very big for them, so that, I guess you could call that a comeback, being down 2-1, coming back and winning it 3-2. Well played by Alpha Wolves. In terms of the current standings for Div C, Isengrim still has to play Death Watch. They still have to play Death Watch because their match unfortunately got pushed back. Historically, Death Watch is doing okay, so they can. You know, they might be, Isengrim might be able to 5-0 them potentially, but unfortunately, it's looking to me like even if they do 5-0 them, Alpha Wolves has now played all of their matches, so I'll have to take a closer look at the standings list, but at least initially here, it looks like Alpha Wolves has in fact won Division C. I wish I was a CNN analyst that could call this one, but we'll have to check the numbers. Maybe I'll send one of you two. It looks like MD might be looking at the numbers right now. We'll see whether or not this officially means Alpha Wolves is Division C champions. But
well,
we'll have to see.
Getting away from even the
matter.
MRBC standings, there's far more important standings. A match result that I am allowed to call, or a season result that I'm allowed to call. I'm fully qualified. I am our Outreach HPG moderator.
Ooh.
And Isengrim has just lost the Flare bet.
Oh, yeah!
So
I forgot they bet that.
it was the winner has to. I forget what the exact. Let me look it up right now.
I think the loser has to change it, so they say like Isengrim's gonna have to change all their flares to like the Alpha Wolves are great or something like that. Like
it's Alpha Wolves would have had to change it to Tamed by ISEN, and Isengrim is gonna have to now be. I think it's Moosin lasered by Alpha Wolves, but also as part of that, it's Deus Machina Odin's Steed. He jumped into this action with his third-party pylon, and so he acquiesced.
Odin Steed's out there like, Isengrim, what have you done?
He's been in chat all evening.
Yeah, he's been in chat having a hard time about this.
No.
So, yeah, I think it's for... I think we set a month for this bet.
Oh my goodness.
That your flare has to be...
God. I'm sure Dane is dying right now, too. Oh, jeez. So, well, I did promise a giveaway, so let's fire this sucker up here and see whether or not we've got ourselves a winner of a 500 MC code. Now, from what I have heard, the simultaneous match that is happening right now is very close. I'm not sure if they have a result of that match yet, but... definitely pay attention to those YouTube videos. If you've been watching this one and haven't been watching the 42 versus Nightscorn match, definitely watch it. I'm not going to spoil anything right now because in case you are watching and you want to watch that one without any spoilers, definitely tune into it, though. It sounds like it's a fantastic match. So we'll catch that. It looks
like it's done because the stream is offline.
All right. Well, let's give away 500 MC. And around it goes. Who's our lucky winner today? Very good crowd out there. Thank you, everybody, for coming by. Hope you have enjoyed the show. Definitely tried some new things today. Did some new tweaks on the overlay. Definitely give me some feedback for that.
I feel bad. I stole MDM's spot because the PIP wasn't working for
That's okay.
the server.
Unfortunately, I realized that I didn't even bring up the pip in the last couple ones, but MWMW222, you are the winner of a 500 MC code. Say something in chat so we know that you exist. Congratulations. And you know what? Because I'm feeling a little bit cheeky, let's give away a Mech Bay while we're at it. Why not? Let's do another one. And we are back to the roulette. Let's see who's the winner. Definitely stick around after the drawing here. We are actually going to talk to the leaders of both Isengrim and Alpha Wolves right after this. And the winner is Captain Salty John. Congratulations. Say something in chat so we know you are actually watching, and we will send you guys the codes after the stream is completed. So congratulations. Let's go ahead and pop those guys into the Skype chat here.
While you're getting that set up, bit of an announcement. It'll be on Reddit in the next day or two, probably, once Raffle gets around to doing it. But speaking of Raffle, he's not dead. He is back alive. We chatted, and he and I are actually going to be starting back up with the cast, rebooting the War Room. Not necessarily the full show, but gotta give MDM and Bandit here some quality competition, instead of just intruding on their shows, you know? So
that's all right.
We'll
we definitely like quality. I never had anything against getting more shoutcasters in here. I was definitely one of the guys championing that, so might be working myself out of a job, but that's okay. It's worth it to me to see some quality Mech Warrior content. So I am just setting up my screens here, but in chat now we have Dane from Isengrim, and I believe Merc J, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can we hear you too, Dane?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Definitely.
A little bit loud.
So we actually have Dane on camera, so we're gonna get him in on this as well. Merc J does not have his cam because I totally didn't ask him to get anything set up until 10 minutes before the match started. But here we go. It is the Jarl of Isengrim, unfortunately coming off a very close loss. Congratulations, Alpha Wolves for pulling that one off. Let's, I guess, start with Dane. How are you feeling, man?
Oh, great. No, it's loss is hard, especially when you hype it up so much. Definitely hurts. I will tell you, fun fact: every time I've hyped a match like that, we have lost.
Oh no! Oh no!
Every time I've made a promo for a match or gone out of my way to create a lot of excitement for it, we've come away with a loss.
Clearly, you need to promo harder.
Yeah,
then
clearly, if they want to teach me anything, I got to stop making promo.
Oh no, we love those though. We love those.
They're amazing, yeah.
I thought about it earlier. I didn't want to say anything. I was afraid I'd jinx myself. It's like, you know what? When I was out there in the woods running around, getting filmed and falling down, I was thinking, every time I've done it, we've lost. Maybe I shouldn't do it. It's like, no, I can do it. It's all right.
Maybe you should science the timings on Canyon Network a little bit better during this time. Oh,
yeah.
It stings. That was definitely a ballsy strat on Canyon Network. Let's, I guess, fly straight into that. What were you thinking on that call, Dane?
Well, you know, I was thinking that might work.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
Well, it was, I'll tell you, so last season we fought Nightscorn.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember, but one time we were on Frozen City and they decided to have like an orgy of death on top of us. Carpet bombers of dicks just fell on us and we all died. Sorry,
okay.
Kids
I
out
hope
there.
this stream's rated mature.
It was Richards. Men named Richard fell from the sky.
I see.
And so it's because we always did the same strat. And I felt like after that I needed to do something different. So this time I went back and I was like, what are they not going to expect? And I thought, I don't think they'll expect this. And then we did that. And that is what happened to us.
I mean, you were bringing the executioners, you were going balls to the wall on the jump jets and the speed. Obviously, you were thinking you would be able to get up to that position a little bit quicker before they had the firing line set up. But it sounds to me, from what we were seeing in chat, AWOL thought you might have been coming straight through Theta, and they were actually setting up for that, and it actually allowed that lane against you by accident almost. I mean, they did what a traditional person on their side would do, which is set up on that area, and unfortunately that worked out really well in their favor, because you essentially walked right into that firing line. That hurts.
Yeah, I can confirm that it caught us a little by surprise for sure. We saw that you guys were dropping Bravo and Charlie, so we kind of expected a little more of a commitment toward Epsilon there. But to look around the corner and peek an entire enemy team rushing straight at you was I'm gonna have to rip that clip and show you my viewpoint on that, because I think I was the first one to kind of peek around that corner and wow.
It can be intimidating. It can definitely be intimidating.
Well, in practice, because the teams we scrimmed were on the opposite side and time and whatever, we never got a chance to try that strat fully from that side. And one of my light pilots who that does a lot with us wasn't in some of those scrims either. And as you, I'm sure, saw, the timing was off. They didn't, we sent those guys off to the right. The idea was that they were going to grab attention away from our push when we got in the open to buy us some time, and that didn't happen. And you know, I blame myself for that. It just didn't work.
Now, you seem to be doing a lot of stuff with some sneaky light baiting today. That you seem to have a lot of a focus on using your lights to try and draw movement out of AWOL. Sometimes it worked, and sometimes, unfortunately, it didn't. But drop one though, like that was an interesting move by Super Atomic Airplane coming in from saddle, and it worked. Yeah. What were you thinking, Merc Jay, when that happened, when that fight was going down? Like, how did comms sound? How was that going down for you guys?
You know, it's I mean, we've dropped on that map so many times. We've tried to get the timing down. We pretty much estimated a brawl to happen around the dropship. We knew it was coming. from the videos that we've seen of ISEN, we know they're good at brawling. I mean, we were kind of expecting it, but honestly, it took me a little by surprise. Like, you guys did an excellent job of just getting in there, and yeah, by the time we called the push, I mean, you guys kind of came from almost everywhere, really, and yeah, but I should upload our comms because honestly, I don't think any of us really said anything. We were just concentrating so hard on trying to like fight you guys back, and yeah, no, it was a really good move. So, but it was a pretty close fight.
Apparently, you have a Stormcrow who cannot die. That was that getting a little bit frustrating on that crow there, Dane? It seemed like he would not go down.
I'm gonna guess that was Zargulus. He's kind of known for that.
He killed himself for me, though. So,
yeah, he did eventually. But
it's the only way to kill him. It's the only way.
I let him take care of it.
Definitely. But then we saw kind of a similar thing on Caustic then in Drop 2. You guys were obviously bringing pretty good Brawl deck, but of course bringing two dual Gauss mechs as well. Interesting choice, but it seemed to work pretty well. They were able to do quite a bit of damage and were the last couple guys left alive. It was a very close fight. I think that was an 8-6 decision. Your movement through Caldara to get a little bit closer to answer their fallback. The fallback, I think, was a very, very smart move by AWOL, of course. But then your movement through Caldara, and then you attempted to send Super Atomic up on the left side again to distract from your main body, and it seemed like AWOL, having seen it happen once, didn't let that phase them. They were able to keep putting their fire straight into your main body coming down. I guess, how did that battle feel to you guys? Like, did you feel like you had control over it, or did it seem pretty good and then start to fall apart at the end? Or I guess how did that feel, Dane?
Well, we did have our glorious charge into the plains. And it was hard to tell how it was going there. And it, for a second, I felt like in the midst of battle, it went back and forth. And I think they did enough damage to us, and our target calling, our focus fire, kind of started to splinter. And I think when the focus fire splintered is when they were able to come out on top. And I mean, if you guys saw through my two Overwatch, my two dual Gauss guys, they actually had run out of ammo.
Oh,
so,
really? Okay.
So they'd done their job, basically. They
pulled like 600, 700 damage each.
They ran out of, yeah. So it started to go, it was back and forth. Obviously, losing that light Super Atomic early wasn't beneficial for us. That put us at a deficit, and that's, as you know, is hard to overcome early in a fight like that.
Definitely.
And then after that, when the moment we lost the crisp focus fire, when it started to we couldn't come back from it. It was we slipped over the edge, and that was it for us.
Yeah. How was that receiving that? How did that feel to you guys, AWOL? Did you feel like you were pretty much in control? It looks like you were kind of setting up for it. You just saw it in Drop 1. I saw you guys move up to that open area in Caldara, and I believe, if I'm correct, you had a Jenner 2C, I think it was a 2C, off on the left side. Did he see that initial push up the saddle coming and get some calls in there, or what caused you guys to back up?
Yeah, we had we spawned our scouts on the sides, obviously, and tried to get an early read on what was going on. Because we didn't commit fully to a brawl deck, I don't think. We decided to try to do a little bit of both, just to, I don't know. We didn't want to commit to complete short range, but we knew that it's very probable. I mean, it's a hot map. SRMs are definitely a thing. So yeah, we had our scouts out and tried to get an early read on it. With the scrims that we had done and with the times that we had dropped on that map, we knew we could take a peek on the Caldera, get a read on the timing. And yeah, I guess the scouts did their jobs. We got a pretty good read on it, pulled back. Yeah, I guess it was a furball for sure. It could have gone either way. Like, it'll be really interesting. By the way, I'm so glad that you guys were willing to cast this for us, because it's going to be great to go back through and kind of take a look at what we did and what we could have done better.
Sure,
but
definitely.
yeah, that was
we like giving you guys that tool, and it's definitely a unique angle. And then, of course, having some of our input and stuff, even though we're probably wrong half the time. But you know, I could see definitely some benefit into being able to look back and see, you know, were you right when a lot of this game, especially when the scouting isn't there, you're kind of guessing your opponent's maneuvers, especially right at the beginning of the match, trying to guess what they were doing, and you can see, were you right? Were they moving that way? Were they splitting? Things like that.
Yeah,
and so we
the
definitely
Goss
like
threw
giving
us
that
off.
to you guys.
Yeah, the Goss threw us off initially because we're like, are they setting up for a range game? Are they going to try to pie us off, you know? And
they seem to be
pick
trading
us off,
relatively even to you guys. You were throwing some DACA back at them. They're throwing Goss at you. Percentage-wise, it was relatively even, but I could see why you would initially think that maybe they're rolling a trade deck, but a very aggressive trade deck, of course.
Yeah, it's I think that match could have gone either way, but the guys that were left, Asail and Zargulus, again in that Stormcrow, he's been running Stormcrows for most of our matches, and he's pretty good in them. But yeah, they were able to finish it off, and it was really close. It's definitely a nail biter, as most of these matches were.
So Polar Highlands, then, I guess, what went wrong there for you guys on the AWOL side? Because obviously that was a very I guess clean conquest win by Isengrim. They definitely did really good maneuvering and stuff like that. But going into that, you both brought mechs for the cap win. You had Ice Ferrets and Cicadas on both sides. Isengrim did bring an additional Cicada above that, but a lot of the time he kind of hung out with the main body and supported the team there. So it was relatively even on the medium side for the cap battle. I guess, what was going through your head on that one and stuff? And when did you realize, I guess, that the caps are definitely not going in our favor? We got to go.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose looking at the footage, you could probably tell the moment that we figured out we needed to move. But I think we kind of gambled on Epsi. We didn't commit all of our mediums to the cap game. And I think we got kind of caught by surprise with Eisen, you know, doing the 3 fast mediums. So yeah, we kind of gambled on Epsi, and once our mediums got there, we kind of figured out that, oh, this game isn't going to play out quite like we planned. So I don't know. Polar's been a pretty good map for us so far this season. We were pretty confident in our long range game, but we just couldn't wrap it up fast enough. So,
gotcha. You did end up getting in there and taking out Dane and his Victor. So, but unfortunately, you guys also lost yours. I think they had some medium suicide in there to take you out.
Yep.
I do find that funny that both of you commanders were in your commander mech. You know, there's not a rule for that, right? You don't have to play in there as the commander. But no, I didn't see that. That was pretty slick. But they were able to prevent the bonus at the very least. But I guess things kind of went the way that you planned then on that one, then, Dane, right?
Yeah. So early on in Polar Highlands, we were winning it by bringing 2 capping mechs because most of our opponents were bringing 1. And it just was so much more powerful having 2 capping mechs that they couldn't... we would just hold somewhere and we would control the cap game, and then it didn't really matter what happened to the rest of our team. We saw that AWOL brought 1 capping mech, we think, in some of their early matches, but their most recent match against Swole, they brought 2. And I decided that...
Let's bring 3!
Let's bring 3. They're going to bring 2. Let's bring 3. Let's win the cap game, and we'll let everybody else do whatever else they want. And that's exactly how that happened, and that's how we wanted it to happen. I should have just fled earlier. My guy's like, Dane, you should just run away. And I'm like, oh, you guys are right. And I started running, but it was too late for me to run into the hinterlands and, find myself amongst the snow hill flurries.
And I honestly think you should have taken that Timberwolf down with that last Goss shot. When I was watching that, I'm like, how did that not kill him? But I'm pretty sure you were pretty screwed at that point anyways. But
yeah, I thought, you know what? This guy's going with me together. And then it's like, oh, guess not. Okay,
you're both going to, what's that, Viking heaven or some shit? Valhalla. You taking him to Valhalla with you or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Now,
I didn't want to go alone.
Now, you had a...
Yeah, can we get a chrome color PGI, please?
Dane was just being a good Jarl and going down with his longboat.
Ah, yes. Good Jarl. Dying. Do they go down with their ships typically? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess so, because it happened here.
Yeah. Ask the expert.
Exactly. Now, you did have a movement in there. AWOL was set up in the middle of the map. They were trading pretty well, and you made a shift over towards Epsilon. Was that purely in response to their mediums that were challenging Epsilon, or what was going through your head when you made that call?
Yeah,
Right, so
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
at that point, we did have we had a single cicada being challenged by two mediums, and we wanted to support him. Also, we weren't winning our trade, and our strategy wasn't built around us winning our trades, and so there was no reason for us to stay at that hill. I realized that lip of the hill would give us plenty of cover to withdraw, so we just withdrew to the buildings because, again, I could see the cap game going my way, so I just wanted to make it difficult for them to finish us off. I thought the buildings would be a nice place for us to chill while we won the game, and that's what we did.
And you guys saw them make that maneuver as well, AWOL. I mean, you were getting some good shots in there at that ultimate range and stuff. Were you guys kind of feeling like, well, we're getting really good hits on them, we don't need to challenge them too hard, or I guess what was going through your head when you saw them start shifting towards your mediums?
You know, honestly, I mean, our mediums kind of realized it right away when they got caught out. They saw what ISEN had brought, and you know, honestly, I remember because we were shooting pretty well. They had some initial really good return fire on us, but we were pretty confident in our long range game. We'd played Polar a couple times before. We felt like we had figured the map out. Honestly, we just, you know, we were locked in. We're trying to get their main group down, and I just remember looking up what I thought was pretty early in the round and seeing them at 500 some caps, and I was like, oh man, we gotta move. It happened so fast, so much faster than I expected.
At that point, it's unfortunately too late for you.
So that's when we just dove in and tried to do it as fast as possible, and yeah, we couldn't get the caps.
Definitely. So then, last but not least, into Drop 5 then, there was the deciding match on River City. We had a bit of a hold at the beginning. Unfortunately, a disconnect or something like that. So it did definitely draw down the amount of time that was remaining in the match. Not sure if that played any sort of factor in for you guys at all. But Isengrim bringing a hard brawl versus you guys who had mostly like a mid-range poke. You got the dual MX-90s, the Banshee 3M and stuff like that. And AWOL opted to come around G-line and challenge Citadel, and Isengrim was able to sit pretty with a 3-cap with their guys up on the ramp and had their lights running around going for a 4-cap. I guess what was... Dane... first things first, did you know that they were coming back up through water when you guys were sitting on the ramp, or was the movement of your lights going to Epsilon kind of leaving you blind?
So when our lights took Epsilon, while they were capping it, they couldn't give us any intel. I asked, and they couldn't see it, and I decided that we needed to finish that cap because, as you could probably tell, our strategy at that point was cap and force them to engage us. And so when our lights did finally finish capping Epsilon and got sight on, that's when we got entire confirmation of where their team was. And then I decided we should probably push them. I'm sure you saw this in Night Scorn too. A lot of the errors that end our careers of not being a C Division team are timing, and just kind of, you know, the cohesive push, and I think we got caught up with each other, and again we had a timing situation there, but yeah, it was. I honestly think going in that was going to be our weakest map. I thought that was my weakest strategy on River City, and for a bit it was actually working out all right, but it fell apart when our push fell apart.
So Merc J, what were you guys thinking? You were sitting over there on the G line. You were losing on the caps yet again. You pretty much, I'm assuming, knew you had to make a move. How was that call made?
Yeah, with visions of polar highlands dancing in our heads. Yeah, you know, I mean, let's set the stage a little bit. You know, because we're 2 for 2 at that point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and we had kind of. ISEN's a good team. We kind of figured they'd do quite well in their week 4 match. And so we knew that we'd be starting this match pretty much neck and neck. Like there wasn't a margin for error. So, here we are, drop 5 of the series, 2 for 2. It literally could go either way. Like, I'm not sure if you could get a closer, division title match. But and it's interesting that Dane's saying that their River City was a little, you're a little less confident, because I think we were kind of the same way. Like, the scrims that we had tried, the different plans that we had, we changed our River City plan just earlier today, I think. We weren't quite sure how it was going to play out. We kind of felt like we started on the bad side of the map, so honestly, most of our plan consisted of trying to get to the good side of the map, and seeing how it played out from there. But obviously we wanted to avoid the Citadel a little bit, because we knew they were a little brawl heavy. We didn't want to get caught out and jumped again. So I guess I'm gonna have to go back and look at that match as well, because I think we made the right moves at the right times.
The timing could not have been better with, you just lost Sigma, so you were sending some guys to respond to that. And when I was making the calls, I'm like, well, they're drawing them back out of that position to respond to Sigma. But that actually kind of helped you, because it caused your team to rotate around into that water. And it actually gave you a bit of an advantage, because they then continued on to Epsilon, which is what we thought they would do. But that took the scouting away from them, and your aggression up through water definitely sealed the deal. Had they known it was coming, they could have easily have just rotated NASCAR back around behind Citadel, and you guys wouldn't have really stood a chance. You might have had to have threatened Theta, and then they could have come up around and jumped on top of you. But the fact that they didn't know you were there, it's part luck, part their lights were on a mission, and your timing was good. It worked. It definitely worked. But that's where, like, difference of a couple of seconds could have made it swing the other way there, for sure. Because ISEN was definitely in a sticky situation where you guys came up. They were kind of halfway between committing to the brawl and getting back around. They were all kind of ramming into each other and stuff, getting stuck on that corner. It's a very tough place to start a brawl from, and it definitely worked in your favor. But had their lights caught a glimpse of you, even just a glimpse of you, they could have made a different call and moved back around, and you guys would have been right back where you were.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, I'm looking forward to going back and watching that cast and trying to figure out, what had really happened. But, honestly, that last drop, I lost my 3 AC5 torso on my Mauler pretty early in that final brawl there. And so I ended up pulling back. One of their Oxides had my back, and I was just, trying to shake him off. And so
he did get you. I think he got
Yep.
you, but then he got taken down relatively quick too. Had he stayed alive a little bit longer, that could have made a big difference as well. It was just bang, like you died, and then he died right after, so your teammate was able to back you up on that one.
It's one of those things where I wish I could have contributed a little more, but it gave me the opportunity to spectate a little bit. And oh man, Reich was making some shots that were just beautiful.
Was he in the Banshee?
He was in the other MX-90.
Oh, okay, good.
And he was able to just kind of clean up, and I will definitely. It was a beautiful thing to see. So I guys definitely did their parts for sure.
Cool. Well, it's hell of a match. That was close as hell. I love 3-2 matches. I'll say that all day long. That 3-2 matches are my favorite as a spectator, and hopefully our audience had a lot of fun watching you guys play. Definitely want to see you guys fight again in the future, in some aspect. But thank you to you guys for allowing us to spectate and allowing us to watch this, and definitely a good fight. I want to see something like that. Isengrim Nightstorm was fun as hell. There's so many of these teams are just so close together that watching these battles are fantastic. And so Definitely thank you guys. But I guess in closing, I got a couple things I want to touch on. First off, teams, make sure you guys report your results if you're team leaders for MRBC teams. A lot of teams that aren't getting their stuff in there, and we do rely on those results to pick casts and to see generally how teams are doing. So submit your results, schedule your matches. A lot of teams are finishing up now. Some people only had 5-week seasons, but some of the teams are doing 7-week seasons, so they still have a little bit of battling to go. So definitely get your schedules in there. Div A teams are going to start playing hopefully soon here, and we will be able to shoutcast some of those and bring you some Div A action in essentially what's the off season for MRBC, because they were of course delayed because of the Merc Star Invitational. So hopefully we can get some of that going on. So stay tuned. Even when MRBC season for most of the teams are coming to a close, we will continue to bring you guys some action in the Div A style. Non-MRBC related thing that I want to throw out there, it looks like NBT is going to be starting up another alpha test soon, and that was a hell of a lot of fun. That's how I actually got to meet and interact with Mech the Dane on Isengrim. We had a little bit of a history there in NBT. If you guys are not familiar with it, it's a very different type of league. Some might say it's not as big of a competition style league as much as it gives you a reason to kill each other. You're actually winning mechs, not in game, but you know, it's like Risk in space. You're flying ships around, dropping mechs on planets, taking planets, and it gives you a person. It's really what CW should have been from the start, and I think everybody can agree with me. So if you are in a team that's interested in a more lore-based league, definitely give NBT a try, and they're working on their rule set to make it a lot more fun, and we're definitely excited to watch that, and I think we'll definitely be participating in that again, so keep your eyes on that. Definitely made some changes to my overlay and stuff, and I'm ready to release that to the rest of the casters, so hopefully you guys will be seeing a lot more overlays similar to mine. Definitely give me your feedback on anything that you've seen today. Always looking to improve stuff. Siri, thank you for coming in and casting with us. This is the first time you've been with us. First time we've tried having 3 casters in one match. Definitely give us feedback in that regards too. Anything with the picture-in-picture, just the way we ran the cast or anything like that. Definitely looking for feedback, but thanks very much, Siri, for coming in. Thanks again, obviously, Mike for our MD for the cat's in the bag.
Wow, doxing banned.
Oh, I'm doxing him. Oh, jeez. Oh, and Dane's name is Dane. Oh, jeez.
Oh, what? Come on, guys. Come on. I'm reporting you.
His name is Jarl Dane. But thanks, MD, for coming by, and thanks, of course, Dane and Merc J for coming by for the post-game interview. It's been a thrill. So we are going to go ahead and call it a night. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Siri has something to say.
Well, 2 things to say. First off, Dane, I know you've seen the bandwagon jumper, Odin Steed. He's posted against you now. How do you feel?
He told us. He let us know before the match. He said, if you guys, I want to say, fuck. Can I say that?
Yes.
It's up. I got in trouble for dicks earlier, so I'm a little bit confused about where we're at.
One's language, the other's literally you stripping. That's the difference.
What? I was only my shirt. So, he said if he's going to post a lot of anti-propaganda, the machine will turn against us. Is what he told me.
The machine.
And,
the machine. Are you afraid?
No, we've dealt with Odin for a long time. We know what it's like. A lot of people don't kind of go along well with him. You just gotta be a crazy Viking, and it'll work out in the end. You're used to your dog sometimes biting you.
All right, and Merc, I'm expecting your follow-up bookend shitposts in the next 24 hours.
Yes. You gotta come up with something big, man. It's gotta be good.
A couple more happy trees.
A victory video of your dogs again, or something like that. I don't know. Give them a big treat.
I'm not gonna make a new video, but I'm gonna give you this.
I'm afraid. I am literally afraid. Oh my god. Wow!
Okay,
Alright, well I think that's
on
a
that
good note to
if
go
you're
on.
still here after that, and you
So-
somehow did not get here through Outreach, if you want to stay in the loop for games, if you want to stay in the loop for match announcements and the shittiest posts you'll ever see, plus discussion, come stop by reddit.com/r/HPG.
I don't even have a job.
So,
Alright. I think
I'm
we're
done.
I think we're gonna end it on that note.
Yeah, that's
Well,
enough.
what's up, guys? What's going on? Lots of dicks fall from the sky and fucks given.
Oh my
What kind of
god.
cast is this?
Alright, well, this has been a Div C match from hell. I'll see you guys later. Oh my god.
Season 3, our division. Who's coming down? Who's coming up? I don't care.
Careful of the collisions. I don't want to hear complaints about it. Work around it. Let's play this game.
I need another heavy. I've got TB and a quick draw.
I want to get fairly tight to it. Now, anybody who's going to be working range, I'm going to need you to fade right on this. And anybody who's running short is going to stay towards the top of the call there if we're going to come at them.
I have you in the Griffin.
Sounds good.
Well, that's the thing. We got to get to brawling range, so I may be moving us right up to the hoop if we have to.
Wolverine nach Charlie 4.
It's fine, chill the f*** out, man. It's fine, it's just a 5-starter.
Komm, Leute, redet miteinander.
15 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Don't
fine.
die.
Guys, we're
15 seconds,
winning
don't
kills,
die.
guys. 3, 2, 1.
Charlie Dar, CT, yellow. Okay, go to Charlie, see if we can get it.
There. To your left, there's a... Sorry,
So, jetzt gleich hinter die Indie-Pocken,
Mediums be prepared to pull back E40 towards the E5 border. On my mark.
Left side, come on! Like now, I need strikes on LP barrel. Fire our strikes up.
Die Hauptgruppe rechts, Uferlinie.
They have 3 mechs sitting on the left side when you pass over.
Overheating is bad.
Both legs on the Griffin. Get the Griffin.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. That was such a
That's right. I'm gonna spawn Lance, you guys in Charlie, Lance, you guys in Bravo. That's B2C1.
This third drop is 2 lights, 2 mediums, 2 heavies, 2 assaults.
Leute in die Breite, CNC dann in die Breite.
Lights, watch our backs. We're gonna about base and take up position in Bravo 6.
Ja, kurz Aufschaltung Delta 4, 3 Stück, 2 Mediums, ein Light, wie ich es richtig gesehen habe.
Make a firing line.
C4 Tactical Hill, boys.
Fox.
Laufen unter ECM, hab 2 durchlaufen, 10 Bravo 4.
And get ready to hit people coming from our right.
Charlie on the left. Charlie and Hellbringer on the left.
Okay, let's group up towards the left. We're gonna press through Bravo 3 to Bravo 4. I think they're kind of spread out.
Check yourselves. Make sure you've got, UAV cool shot.
Here they come. They're pushing hard, guys.
Deco. Tez on.
Go. Oh, got a contact here, Bravo 3.
Nice, Marshall. I'm on Delta Griffin.
We'll get cross it then. Get in their face. They got a highlighter. They just pushed up on Theta. We need help on Theta. Up on Theta. Yep, that's the noise. Go. Let's finish this.
Full pressure, guys. Full pressure. They're down low. They're down low in Charlie 3.
Get the f***ing arm, Jackson.
Jackson, cool shot.
Golf. I got him.
Okay, go, P3, go.
Echo.
Get over on your medium, guys. Get Echo Stormcrow.
God, I suck as a pilot, but thank I packed my skill.
I'm sorry that you died, sweet girls, but we will send a reasonably nice letter to your family. super dull. Make sure you guys are shooting the correct legs. Be careful of the collisions. I don't want to hear complaints about it.